Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Going Rounds podcast, episode 82, I think. Yeah, I think it's 82. Yeah, we're back Thursday night. Time to go some rounds with everything going on in combat sports and mainly the UFC, MMA. Honestly, there's nothing going on in combat sports right now. I mean, there's a few little things here and there, but honestly, it's just not something that, it's not anything. There's really nothing. That's the truth. There's not a whole lot going on. For some reason, you know, there's little stuff here and there. There's the constant UFC 300 rumors, and we're still waiting on. I guess that's the main thing. We're still waiting on the main event for UFC 300 to be announced because they still haven't done that. So maybe I can talk about that for a minute. But otherwise, not a whole lot going on. Boxing is boxing. The PFL, Bellator are trying to ramp up to do the what is it, the champion versus champion event that they want to do. So, I think that's coming up later this month or next month. I don't remember exactly, but that's what's happening with that. So there's just not a lot going on. It's weird. And even in the other shows and stuff I listen to and pay attention to, all the talk is around what's happening, over the weeks with the previous fights and the next fights and stuff like that. So, I don't know. It's just sometimes it's like that. There's so much big news going on for a long time, and then there's like a lull, and then we'll get some more big news. So as soon as that 300 main event gets announced, everyone's going to be, it's going to be a big talk. Right now being rumored, I guess, is everyone's saying they should make Alex Pereira versus Tom Aspinall to have Alex go up to heavyweight now that he's the light heavyweight champ, previously the middleweight champ. They're saying that maybe he's going to move up to heavyweight and challenge Tom Aspinall, since Aspinall doesn't have anybody to fight really at the moment because of John Jones and the injuries and stuff. And so Aspinall's the interim champ right now. And basically, I guess the thing people are saying that is a possibility is, Pereira goes up to try to become a 3-division champion, which has never been done. And then, but even though it'd be for the interim, so Tom Aspinall would defend the interim title, which has happened before. I believe Renan Barão did that. Off the top of my head, that's the one I can think of. I think that was when Dominic Cruz was out for like 3 years or something like that. And I'm pretty sure it's happened before too. But it's weird when they, defending an interim belt. Like, why are we doing this? Let's just make it the undisputed title and let John Jones come. I've talked about this before. But, it's the truth. Like, why not have John Jones come in later and just have an automatic shot at the title when he's healthy and ready? But I guess that's kind of... that's my feeling on it. I feel like just let him come in when he's ready and then, fight for the title right away. It is what it is. He deserves it with the record and moving up and getting the title right away and stuff like that. And, he got injured. It's unfortunate, but let the division keep going. Stop holding it up. But they want to make that John Jones-Stipe fight. So they're hoping for a quick return for Jones so that him and Stipe can fight. They can kind of get that legendary fight out of the way. Stipe, they'll probably both retire, if not at least Stipe, and then, move on from there. But as of right now, Tom Aspinall is the interim title holder for the heavyweight division, and there's rumors going around that might happen, but I don't know. I don't see it. I still think that they should do the Conor fight. That's probably their best bet. And really the only thing that's out there and open, but Dana White keeps going around talking about who knows when Conor is going to when Conor's actually going to fight. For some reason, Dana White keeps talking about Conor in the manner that it's like he's not ready. That's kind of the way he keeps saying it. Conor keeps talking about how he's ready. He's getting impatient. He's, getting sick of waiting, and he's got gripes about it, and he talks shit and says, "I'm ready this, I'm ready that," but nothing has happened. Nothing has moved. So the other, the other rumor, the other speculation going around for 300 is that they're waiting for the Super Bowl this weekend, the big game, I guess I should say. I don't know. Nobody important enough is listening to this, and I'm apparently saying SB is I don't give a shit. Saying Super Bowl is supposed to be not great when you're doing stuff like this, but I don't give a fuck. So when the big game comes around, they're saying, because already there's a commercial going around, a Bud Light commercial that has Dana White in it, and they're saying that they're gonna use the game to put out, because it's happening in Vegas. It's the home of the UFC, and because it's so like wrapped around, kind of, the UFC is all over Vegas, and with the Super Bowl being in Vegas, then they're thinking that's the perfect time. Maybe they'll, in a commercial break, announce, Dana White announces it in a kind of a more, maybe hopefully he doesn't go on live TV or puts out some kind of pre-recorded commercial where he's like, "What's up, everybody? I got an announcement." Because that's what he does. He screams as loud as possible. That made me cough. I don't know how he does that, but he screams as loud as possible into the camera, and it looks ridiculous. And I don't know why he does it. It drives me crazy. I get it. You're hyped, but I don't think you need to scream. I don't think you need to scream about it. It seems so dumb, and everybody makes fun of him for it. It's hilarious. It drives me crazy because I'm just like, I just want to know what's happening, but I don't want to have to sit through Dana White screaming about it. So hopefully he doesn't do that, but if they announce it, that would be pretty cool. During the Super Bowl, everyone's paying attention to, watching for the commercials and all that. That's actually pretty genius. So they announce it, and then, of course, who would they pick? Who do they use? Well, use your biggest star. Maybe that's why they're holding out. They want to announce it in a gigantic way like that. They throw it across T-Mobile Stadium. They put it on the big screens at Allegiant Stadium during the Super Bowl. That UFC 300 is going to be headlined by Conor McGregor, the person everybody knows, the mainstream guy. Everyone knows him. And then, you throw that fight out there against who the fuck ever, but it's probably going to be Michael Chandler. I guarantee that's what's going to happen. Not that specifically, but he's going to fight Michael Chandler unless something crazy happens. Chandler wouldn't be holding out. Why would he be holding out otherwise, right? So who knows? That would be pretty genius to do it during the Super Bowl, during a commercial break where everyone's paying attention, because a lot of people watch the Super Bowl just to see that commercial break and not even to watch the game or just to watch the halftime show, whatever. So who knows? If anybody out there is watching and has an idea of what they would like to see or how they think it's going to be announced, throw it in the chat. The chat's live. It's open. Go ahead and say what you want and say what you think. And yeah, I'll respond. I'll interact with you too and give my thoughts on what maybe you think might happen. If it's going to be Conor, if it's going to be somebody else. There's been all this talk about Conor and Nate trilogy possibly. Conor and Chandler, of course. The Aspinall Pereira thing. Leon Edwards and somebody. There has been nonstop rumors, nonstop speculation as to what's going to happen there. But they have not named a main event. So there's still something to come. And I'm excited for it. I just hope that they get it over with. And it would be nice to have it be done this weekend, because it's getting close. I don't know what they're pulling in the background there, but they're definitely building it. They don't really talk. Everyone else talks about it. The UFC doesn't really say much. Dana just says, "Oh, you're not going to be able to handle what the main event's going to be." Well, if you know, why the fuck aren't you just telling us? Just say it already, god damn it. What are we doing here? Why are we playing this game? But that's that with 300, and I don't know. I went in and ran on that because I have been thinking about it since I heard some of those theories earlier. The Super Bowl one, though, I mean, that's marketing genius, and the UFC is known for stuff like that. So maybe they have enough pull to get into that the commercial space of the Super Bowl, and then because it's happening in the home city of the UFC, which would be Vegas, obviously, and like I said, throw it all over the big screens, man. That shit'll bring all kinds of attention. So that'd be genius. Let's do it. Get it over with. We want to fucking know already. So everyone can stop talking about it, and we can actually start talking about what the matchups are going to be like. So yeah, we're coming up to UFC 298, Ilya Topuria versus Alexander Volkanovski. A little bit about that. I mean, I'm not doing an official Combat Sports News segment. I'm just going to talk about it here for a minute because this is just going to be part of the intro, I guess, because I don't have a lot going on either. I'm going on a vacation this weekend. Another trip that I gifted my wife for Christmas. And speaking of genius, Valentine's Day worked in there because of the timing and the date. I don't know. I thought it was pretty smart. But anyway, yeah, we're gonna go on a little trip for the weekend, which is cool. And that's really all that's going on with me besides work stuff as usual. Played golf a few times over the past couple weeks. That's been fun. That's been good. But yeah, that's it for me. So just quick rundown of what I got going on. Other than that, just focusing on content for this as usual. I love it, so I have to keep it going. But I wanted to see real quick, since I brought up 298, which is not this weekend, but next weekend, February 17th. Again, Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilya Topuria. Volkanovski going back to the division he's champion in, featherweight. So after getting KO'd badly by Makhachev, right? Yeah. After that, let's see how he bounces back, because a lot of times you get KO'd like that, man. And he's been talking about how 3 to 4 weeks leading up to the fight that he took that on short notice. So 3 to 4 weeks leading up to that, he was drinking a bunch and was just in a bad state. I don't know that he full on said maybe he shouldn't have. I don't know that he full on said maybe he shouldn't have taken the fight, but it sounds like it would have been better if he didn't. So let's see how he bounces back. Maybe he realizes the error of his ways and he comes back to win in a big way. But Ilya Topuria is undefeated. He's 14-0, and yeah, he looks pretty unstoppable. But he's been talking mad shit. So that's the one thing that's happened this week is he's been on a rampage talking about all these guys that have fought for the title before or held it before, like Max Holloway, Yair Rodriguez, and Brian Ortega. He mentioned specifically, he said they might as well retire because I'm not going to give them a chance. And it's like, usually the champ can call some shots, but dude, you just become the champ. Wait, you haven't even become the champ yet. Okay, Alexander Volkanovski is no joke. He's not someone that you can just look past. So every time I've doubted this fool, he's come out and done big things and fucked people up. So I don't doubt him. And to look past him like that, I mean, Ilya Topuria is going on Instagram and changing his bio, saying he's the undisputed featherweight champion and that he's 15-0, which means he's already stating that he's the champ and he's got that extra win next to or on his record. Like, confidence is cool, and I say, cool, that's good, go for it, but you look like a real dumbass when you get knocked the fuck out or you get just tooled in that cage when you do shit like that. So is that what you want, Ilya? I mean, I know I get the confidence, man, but just go out there and say, hey, when I win the title, you can play that game. Don't play when people say if. You say nope, when. That's fine. Do that. But, man, you're going all in. To me, that's a fucking jinx. Or maybe it's genius, too, because maybe he knows something we don't about Volkanovski. He thinks that the losses to Makhachev mean basically Volk is done, and that his confidence is going to be shit, and basically it's going to be kind of an easy fight for him. I don't see that happening at all. I like Ilya, but I don't like the shit that he's been talking lately. And especially talking about these other guys who have been at the top of the division for so long. I get it. Shake up the division. Get some new blood in there or whatever. I understand how that works too. But, man, just saying that they might as well retire, like, get out of here, dude. That's fucking, you're crazy. Max Holloway, Yair Rodriguez, and Brian Ortega, you're talking about some of the elites. Like, shit. Okay. I mean, if you get the belt, I get it. You're undefeated. You're the number one contender. You're fighting for the belt. But, man, that's big talk. You're going to look like a fool if you come out with a big loss. So that's the shit talk for the week coming from Topuria. Anyway, other big fights on this card. Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa, which Chael Sonnen seems to think that's not going to happen for whatever reason. It's still on the card, so let's go with it. Jeff Neal versus Ian Gary. Jeff Neal versus Ian Gary, I'm interested in that fight because there was beef there before. Ian Gary's still undefeated, and, you know, there's all the shit going around with him. So we'll see how he bounces back now that he's had some time to sit on all that, work through it, and hopefully get his head on straight. Because his last fight didn't look because he pulled out of that last fight, and, you know, for the illness, pneumonia or whatever. And I think a lot of that contributed to a lot of the stress that was put on him with all of the rumors and shit talking going on about him. But then we have the fight I'm really looking forward to besides the main event here. Henry Cejudo versus Merab Dvalishvili. That's going to be a badass fight. 16-4 for Merab. Henry is 16-3. A lot of shit talking going on there because, of course, the king of cringe, Henry Cejudo. Triple C, cringe, cringy, cringe. That's what those C stands for. He's been champs in a lot of things, but the cringe is what he's the king of. And, yeah, he's been talking that shit, but Merab is a fucking beast. So then you got Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Kopylov. That should be a good fight as well. But yeah, that's coming up, man, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping to go ahead and do a watch party for that one. We'll see, though. I will announce that coming when we get closer to it. So anyway, that's just a bit of a rundown, a bit of a look at what's been happening. I should have just went ahead and done the header and put the music on, but I didn't prep anything for it because I didn't really have any pictures or anything, because there's no visuals for any of this because it's just rumors, speculation, and shit talking. So there it is. We went through it a little bit, and that got some of my thoughts out of my head. So that's kind of what I wanted to do, was work through that. So, I just remembered something that I forgot, and I'm an idiot. So I'm going to add that in now while I talk about the fact that I need everybody to remember to like and subscribe and share this video and other videos, or just a link to my page. If you could, please, because that helps me grow the channel. I'd be much appreciated. I'd be much appreciative if you did that, is what I meant to say. Because yeah, I mean, I definitely want to grow the channel. I mean, I like doing this. I always say it, and I want to just make sure that I just want to make sure that I keep it going and it feels kind of worth it. So anyway, I'm on like low energy today. What the fuck's wrong with me? I'm gearing up for this vacation. That's what it is. I'm ready to go, mentally ready to go, but I need to do some packing and stuff. So it's going to happen after this. So let's get through this. Let's get started. Let's go with a recap of UFC Vegas 85. I'm going to do a little bit of on-the-fly work here because I want to make sure that I add this one visual in that I meant to add in and I forgot. Did I even send it to myself? I'm not sure. Anyway, UFC Vegas 85 was a pretty good card. Now, actually, it wasn't that great. It wasn't that great. I lied. It wasn't really that great because there was a lot of fouls happening. There's a lot of kind of dirty stuff going on during the fights. A lot of eye pokes and illegal shots and stuff. It kind of sucked in that manner. And, you know, there wasn't any really big, crazy, exciting fights. So that made for not a great card, I guess. The main event, I was looking more forward to the co-main than I was the main event. But none of it was knock your socks off type stuff. But hey, after a week off, I enjoyed it. I actually watched all of the main card because I was super interested in it, and I was, you know, kind of hoping for a better card than what actually happened. So, but you know, it is what it is. It happens. Roman Dolidze versus I always forget his Nasruddin Imavov was the main event here, but not a lot of big names in the lower on the prelim cards. Markel Medeiros versus Landon Quinones. That was a unanimous decision win for Medeiros in the lightweight division. There's a lot of decisions on this card, and that's kind of what led to the card just being okay, you know, because the decisions, a lot of them were kind of drawn out, and it just felt like we needed more action. So that was the issue with that. Luana Carolina versus Julia Stoliarenko. That was a pretty exciting fight. Carolina with the big win there, TKO by punches in the third round. That was a catchweight fight. I don't know which one of those fighters missed weight. I don't remember, but it was a prelim fight. So sometimes not a lot of attention gets paid to those lower prelim cards or prelim fights when stuff like that happens, because, you know, there's not a lot on the line. It's just a matchup. You know, just someone trying to, you know, build their record and stuff and make their way up. So let's see. Tembe Garimbo versus Pete Rodriguez. That was a welterweight fight, and it was a 32-second TKO in the first round for Garimbo. So this guy, who I failed to speak about all this last week because I got him mixed up with another guy that people have been talking about a lot, and I can't remember his name because it's a tough one to say. But Thembe Garimbo is the guy who won a fight a while back and talked about how he had like $7 and change in his bank account, and I think he got the win bonus, or he was up for the win bonus, and you know, with how exciting his fight ended, that they were talking about the fact that, you know, he really wanted maybe it wasn't his last fight, maybe it was, yeah, it was his last fight, yeah, because that was a win, and but he got attention because The Rock hit him up, because, you know, The Rock's story, $7. He always talks about how he only had $7 to his name before things really took off for him and he was ready to give up. So he even has a production company called $7 Production and stuff like that. So The Rock bought him a house or something like that, and really lifted this guy up. So just, I don't know, I guess he just felt compelled due to the similar circumstances and stuff like that. So he came out and really showed out. 32-second TKO in the first round. Like, damn, that's a hell of a way to continue to keep your name out there and be, you know, in people's heads and keep up the good work, that especially when you get the attention from someone like Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. Like, damn. So good for him, man. And he seems like a really good dude, down to earth, not one of these fucking, you know, jackass fuckers that are out there just talking shit, trying to get clout. He's doing it the good way, the real way, and it's nice to see. So you know, I'll be on the lookout for him. I'm not gonna forget his name this time, because that was a hell of a win, and, you know, he's just on the lower level, and he's working his way up, and it's nice to see that he gets all that attention from a celebrity like that, doesn't let it get to his head, you know. He's just out there trying to work hard and keep proving himself, and that's good. That's a hell of a win for him. We had Charles Johnson versus Azat Maksum in the flyweight division, unanimous decision there. And then we go to Molly McCann. The first fight I'll cover because that's where I started my parlay was with Molly McCann, and I was happy because not only did I have her as the first leg of my parlay, but I also I'm a fan. I'm a fan of Molly's. Patty Pimblett, who is like her best friend and the guy that's like hand in hand with her coming up, getting all the attention from Barstool and everywhere else. She's kept it down to earth and hasn't been outlandish like Patty has. Patty Pimblett has kind of rubbed people the wrong way here and there, so he's lost a little bit of that, but he's still super popular. So, but Molly, I respect her. I think she's a good fighter. I feel like she had some downtime there that wasn't good for her, and so she decided to make things even harder on herself and go down a weight class, and now she's fighting at strawweight. And she had a rematch against Diana Belbita, who she fought in damn, my chair just making all kinds of noise. She fought Diana Belbita in a rematch where she beat her before as well. But man, this was a pretty exciting fight in the first round. Molly McCann looking just looking good, man. Like physically and fight wise, she was all business. She was not fucking around. Barely cracked a smile. She was looking serious and ready, and she went out there and put on a damn show. This fight, the first round, was coming up to an end, and she winds up putting Belbita in a crazy position, gets her down to the ground, and winds up putting her in this arm bar. And she didn't break her arm, but there's definitely some ligament damage because she snapped that arm, or I guess they heard popping in the arm. So for sure there was ligament damage, but no real fracture or break from what I understand. But it was a nasty armbar, and with 1 second left in the first round, 4 minutes and 59 seconds in, Molly McCann gets the submission by armbar and gets a win in her strawweight debut. So good on her. I hope she keeps it going. And man, I feel like she's gonna be a force in this division if she can keep up that, keep that weight down. And keep up her physique and keep up her skills. It seems like this is where she maybe belongs. Maybe the higher weight was a little bit much, carrying that extra weight and stuff. She's looking built. She's looking good. So we'll keep watching out for that because she's definitely a favorite of mine. So, but moving on to the next fight, Charlie Radke. Chuck Buffalo is his nickname, which is kind of hilarious. I guess he's one of these outlandish kind of guys too that says a lot of shit that people don't like. But he gets a big win, TKO by punches as well over Gilbert Urbina. And yeah, I mean, he looked good in this fight. This was a first round finish as well. 4 minutes and 47 seconds in. So I mean, we're getting late finishes in the first round, but needless to say, first round finishes. So that was a damn good way to start off the card, and it was looking good. We get the featured prelim with a finish, an exciting one. We get the first fight of the main card with an exciting TKO finish. Radke just looked good. I mean, he gets hit and he sustains damage, but he keeps on it and gets that win against Gilbert Urbina, which a lot of people were going back and forth on this one. I picked Radke in my parlay, and so I was getting pretty stoked here because two of my picks, which I think Radke was actually I think Radke might have been the underdog, maybe, I'm not sure, but this marks his second win in a row in the UFC, so that's good for him. But that puts him on a 6 fight win streak overall, with some of those, obviously only 2 of those fights being in the UFC, but still, that's a win streak. So Radke is on the roll and looking good, and kept my parlay going. But then we moved in to, here's the finish for Radke, which I liked some of these finishing photos where the ref's stepping in, because you kind of get to see, it's always different angles, different progression of the fight, and where it's finished, and you can kind of see Urbina covering up. So obviously it was a good stoppage by the ref. But yeah, that's the finish by Ratke. So then we move on to Mahmoud Muradov versus Alexa Kazirev. This one was a very fast fight because 11 seconds in, we get this eye poke. I don't know why I'm so uncomfortable all of a sudden. But yeah, 11 seconds in, we get this eye poke by Kazirev. And I mean, it's bad. Like, they showed the replay. You could see how far the fingers went in. And it was weird. It was definitely accidental. He did reach a little bit. You know, they get that reach. They're feeling for that that distance. You know, they're trying to create the distance or you know, feel out how far, you know, just basically hone in the distance. He puts his hand out there, paws it out a little bit, and his fingers were extended, and Muradov kind of ducked his head into it. So it was kind of a both people making progression forward, and bam, the finger went in the eye, and it went in bad, as you can tell here. Look how bad his eye looks. I mean, he can't even open it. So the doctor comes in 11 seconds into the fight. I mean, barely anything has happened. Doctor comes in, they call it off right away. So accidental eye poke, no contest. Parlay still alive. You just have one less leg. Brings down the overall value of the parlay too, because obviously now we're down a fight. So I'm thinking, okay, no big deal. You know, it's unfortunate. It was, you know, it was looking like could have been a decent fight, and instead we get this. No one ever likes it when this kind of shit happens and the fight has to end. But it happened. So then, yeah, we get the no contest. You can see how upset Muradov is, and you know, it is what it is. It sucks. Then we move on to another women's fight. Natalia Silva versus Vivian Araujo. So this fight, you know, I was looking forward to it. I thought it was going to be a pretty good fight. It was a fairly decent fight. It wasn't super exciting. It wound up being a unanimous decision win for Natalia Silva in the flyweight division over Vivian Araujo. But, you know, they went back and forth. Silva looked pretty good. Araujo put it on her a bit too for a little while, because I got a little worried. I'm watching this fight and I'm just like, oh shit, no contest. Well, that kills that one, but I'm still 2-0. Parlay's still alive. And then Araujo's trying to put it on early, and it's not looking great for Silva, but then she turns it around. And it was only high moments for Araujo, and she winds up you know, continuing on and being dominant, landing a lot of kicks. That she's really good with those kicks, whether it be low kicks, kicks to the body, kicks to the head. She's definitely got those kicks down, and she's explosive with it, and she's fast, and throwing this nasty elbow too that landed, kind of a spinning back elbow. Landon strikes left and right, beat up Araujo, gets the unanimous decision win. Natalia Silva keeps my parlay alive. Now I'm 3-0. And then we move into Randy Brown versus Muslim Salikov. So now I'm starting to worry, because I'm just like, shit, this was the fight where I was going back and forth. I couldn't remember. Not that I couldn't remember, but I can't remember right now who the hell I picked for sure, but I'm pretty sure, yeah, I picked Randy Brown. I think that's why I was worried about this one, because I was going back and forth, because everyone was talking about Salikov and how dangerous he is, and how Randy Brown kind of gets himself into positions that are not good. But when you saw them get into the cage, holy shit, Randy Brown looked like a fucking monster. Salikov is a stout, fucking, but kind of stubby dude. Like, he's shorter, a lot shorter than Randy Brown, but he's pretty fucking stacked. And but man, Randy Brown has some skinny ass legs, but that fool is big, has big upper body, and he's tall as shit, and he's just overwhelmingly bigger in when it comes to aesthetics compared to Muslim Salikov. So it looked like they should have been in different weight classes. But I want to make 100% sure that I'm being accurate on how my picks went down on this, but I know at this point I'm 3-0, you know, with the no contest in there, so that killed that one. I hate that DraftKings makes you log in like every fucking time, but this is what I'm doing picks on DraftKings, so that's where I'm keeping my betting whenever I do it, and I'm doing it a little more now. I actually put a bet in for this week. We'll go over that once we get to UFC Vegas 85 with the preview for that. But, you know, with the way it went last week, I feel like breaking the fights down a little more and paying a little more attention to things, I'm feeling a little better about making some picks. So I'm going to try to go on a little bit of a win streak, hopefully. But I want to see who I had here. Okay, yeah. Oh shit, that's my slip for this week coming up. Where's mine for last? Oh, here we go. Okay, yeah. So I definitely picked Randy Brown. I just want to make 100% sure of that one, so I know where things went wrong after that. But Randy Brown gets the KO win in the first round. 3 minutes and 17 seconds in the welterweight division over Muslim Salikov, and it was a hell of a fight for the 3 minutes and 17 seconds that it lasted. Randy Brown just looked damn good in this fight. Everyone was worried that, you know, he tends to get hit, he tends to put himself in bad positions, and Salikov's one of those guys that could catch him and possibly submit him if he gets him down to the ground. But Randy Brown put it on him early and finishes him and gets him out of there in the first round. So yeah, Randy Brown with the finish and the win over Muslim Salikov. Parlay continues. Now I'm 4-0. Should be 5-0. I mean, I went with Kazirev because he was undefeated, and I just felt like that was the safer bet there. I don't know enough about those two fighters, so I went with the favorite. Mixing it in on a parlay, the favorite's okay to do, in case you're wondering, because a lot of times if you don't bet on a underdog, you're not getting paid out much. But if you mix up the underdogs and the favorites, you get better odds in a parlay. So, you know, and that's just lower level parlay stuff. You're just, you know, betting money line. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not betting on any props. Just kidding, I lied. I did bet on props, but I didn't bring those out here because that's going deep. And I'm betting on kind of outlandish props because it's a big payout, and it's very little money to spend for a big payout. So I am doing some props, but like I said, I didn't list them out. My main parlay that I put on here to share with everybody was my parlay of just straight money line fights, win or lose, and 4-0. So here we go. Now I'm getting nervous because I'm like, can't think about it too much because I am hoping to get the win and win some money here in this parlay. But then we get to the next fight, Renato Moicano versus Drew Dober. I was torn on this fight, and Randy Brown I was a little worried about, but I knew Randy Brown against Muslim Salikov, that wasn't lopsided or anything. And I just went with my gut on that one. But this one, man, I was torn. My gut feeling was go with Moicano. But I went with Drew Dober because Drew Dober has heavy hands. Drew Dober is a knockout artist per se. So, and Moicano gets hit a lot. So I'm thinking, fuck, let's go with Dober, man. Every time I bet against Dober, not really bet, but I'm just saying in terms of who I'm rooting for, I root against Dober and he wins. So that kind of I played that into my choices for the parlay. But this was a pretty good fight, back and forth. Again, Moicano gets hit a lot, but Dober couldn't really get off those really big strikes that he's used to getting, and couldn't really hurt Moicano like he's hurt other people in the past. Obviously, you know, damage, as you can see here, Moicano landing that punch on Dober. Dober's already busted up and bloody. Moicano's got a cut and bloody as well, you can see there. But in the end, it's a unanimous decision win for Moicano in the lightweight division. And yeah, parlay busted. So that's unfortunate, because I was torn on this fight, and my initial gut was to pick Moicano, and I didn't do it. So it's in the past. It's a damn shame, but it was a pretty good fight, and that leads us in. So parlay busted, but I still had some prop bets going. So, you know, just backing myself up there, and trying to get some other bets in the mix in case my parlay got busted early. I could still, you know, watch the fights with something on the line. So I'm thinking, okay, I get the one fight wrong, bust that parlay, but I still have these other prop bets. So, or I should say another parlay with props. That's kind of what I did. So maybe I'll get lucky on this. Well, Nasruddin Imavov versus Roman Dolidze. Yeah, this one went all five rounds, and I mean, it wasn't the greatest of fights, unfortunately. You know, Roman Dolidze put in some work in the beginning. It was kind of going back and forth. Imavov, I knew, was a tough opponent. They had similar records. I went with Dolidze against my better judgment, because I even read it on the podcast that someone said don't ever vote on Dolidze. It's too random. It's too risky with Dolidze, and they were right. So maybe I need to listen to but I didn't see that until I was looking up the odds again this past or last show. When I was looking up the odds, I saw that as a comment, and I should have listened, but I had already put the bet in, so it is what it is. So Dolidze comes out, and you know, it's looking all right for him. He's landing punches. He's, you know, it's going a little bit back and forth. Seems fairly even. I think Imavov won the first couple rounds, but yeah, Dolidze got his hits in too. It winds up being a majority decision for Imavov, and he gets the win. And yeah, parlays completely busted all the way around. Middleweight division for Imavov and Dolidze. Imavov with the majority decision win. Gets his big knee to, oh, whoops, I skipped one. Oh, I'm literally pressing all of the wrong buttons. That's a hell of a punch right there, though. This was a picture. I was like, damn, talk about good timing on this. That big shot to the chin. You can see that he obviously got hit the way that his mouth is shifted. There's that big knee to the body, though. Dolidze looking beat up. And, yeah, lots of damage on the face. Everything's showing. And there's another chin shot from Imavov. Fuck, man. It is what it is. This is why betting on MMA is tricky. This is why I never do it, or never did it before. But you know what? If I'm going to spend time in here talking about these fights and really digging into them, you know, maybe I'll make it a little more worth it. Maybe I hit big here and there, and, you know, get some extra things for the, you know, get some extra stuff for the podcast room. But it's the chance you take. I'm not betting big money. We're talking like, I had one parlay that I bet like $5 and change on. That was one of the big parlays. And then the other one I bet like $15. So I think I bet like $20 overall. Not a big deal, you know? I initially said I wasn't going to bet on the fight nights, but with the way this one went and how good it was looking, it gave me some confidence. And I decided to go ahead and, you know, try betting again this week. So we'll get to that, and I will show you. I made a little graphic and show you my picks and all that. Shit. Like, the hell? Sorry, got a little distracted there. But yeah, that about does it for UFC Vegas 85. That was an Apex card. And then we have to follow it up with another Apex card, which is a damn shame. But at least we're getting fights, because the week before this fight, we had no fights. So we're leading up to the big pay-per-view happening in less than 2 weeks now. So let's move on to the UFC Vegas 86 preview, because you know what? If we get through this quick, no big deal. I have some packing to do. But I am excited about this main event. Jack Hermansson versus Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer's the shit right now. I like this dude. The way that he talks, the way that he carries himself, and his story is just badass. He's another guy who got recognized by someone big, and that person being Dana White. Now, obviously, people are going to say preferential treatment when it comes to him moving up in the rankings and getting better fights and stuff. But, you know, I feel like he's doing that on his own. He's proven himself with the way that he fights and with what he's doing with his career. So, but Jack Hermansson is no joke. He is a hell of an opponent and a hell of a fighter. So this is gonna be a tough one. Man, my throat's been just messing with me. Sorry. Man, hopefully that stops very quickly. But UFC Vegas 86, yet another Apex card. Jack Hermansson versus Joe Pyfer. Well, we will get to that fight, obviously, because that's the main event. But on the prelims, notable fights. Now, again, I don't go through every single fight on the prelims. I just like to cover and talk about quickly any of the bigger name fighters down there that, you know, people might know, or up and coming guys or girls that are you know, making a name for themselves. So looking at the first few fights, no one really of note. We get to the fourth fight of the prelims, Max Griffin versus Jeremiah Wells. I know those names, you may not, but you know, Max Payne Griffin has been around for a little while. He's 19-10 against Jeremiah Wells, who's 12-3 in the welterweight division. Max Griffin is coming off a loss to Michael Morales back in July of last year. A lot of decisions on his record though, so might be in for a long 3 rounds on that one. But he does seem to be a pretty exciting fighter, and you know, he keeps you entertained in the fight. And he is fighting Jeremiah Wells, who's 12-3, also coming off a loss back in August of last year. That was a submission loss for him against Carlston Harris. You know, these guys are kind of similar level. It just seems like Max Griffin has a little more experience, but that could be a decent fight. Moving up, the fifth fight on the prelims, Devin Clark versus Marcin Prachnio. That's a light heavyweight fight. Clark 14-8, Prachnio 16-7. Let's see. There's a strawweight women's fight thrown in there. I honestly don't even know who either one of those women are. So that's a damn shame. Then we continue to move on to the eighth fight. Trevin Giles versus Carlos Prates. That's a welterweight fight. Trevin Giles 16-5, Prates 17-6. Trevin Giles is a pretty good fighter. That's a name you might recognize if you've been paying attention to MMA for a while. So yeah, that's the featured prelim fight there. And then we move into the main card, starting with Adolfo Vieira versus Arman Petrosyan. Now you get Arman Sarukian and Arman Petrosyan. If you're like me, you get these two guys mixed the fuck up all the time, because they're two names that are fairly similar, and I don't know what my problem is. I got this weird brain block on all this stuff, and those two names I get conflated. I'm like, one is Arman, the other one's Arman. I'm like, Arman Petrosian, Armen Sarukian. It's stupid. It's stupid. But yeah, there's similar names, man. It's tough. But yeah, this is the first fight on the main card. Middleweight fight. Rodolfo Vieira, 34 years old, 9-2 overall in MMA. He's 4-2 in the UFC. He's coming off a win over Cody Brundage, which is a pretty good name there. Has a loss to Chris Curtis. So has a loss to Anthony Hernandez. So he's fought a few of the names you might recognize. Dustin Stoltzfus, he won against as well. A couple names in there that you might know. So he's got some pretty good experience under his belt in the UFC, even though he's only got a total of 6 fights. He's 1-0 in the KO TKO category, 8-1 in submissions, 0-1 in decisions, and like I said, coming off a win. So yeah, like if it goes to decision, his record's, it's only 1 loss, but he has no wins in decision, which means a lot of his fights may not go to decision, and that's what it looks like. None of his fights go to decision. So yeah, maybe that's a bet you can make there, a prop bet if you're feeling confident in Rodolfo Vieira, saying that it's gonna, not gonna go the distance. But let's look at his opponent, Armen Petrosian, 33 years old, 9-2 overall, 3-1 in the UFC, and he's coming off he's on a 2-fight win streak. So yeah, he's got 6-1 in KOs, TKOs, 0-0 in submissions, and then I believe it's 3-1. Apparently, I forgot the 1 on that. Which there's always one slide here that I forget something on. But decisions, actually, I can look that up right here. Yeah, 3-1 in the decisions, and again on a 2-fight win streak. His last fight being against Christian Leroy Duncan, and then his other win was against AJ Dobson. So not too bad. His last loss was against Kyle Baraglio, which that's a tough opponent there. And he's a Dana White's Contender Series alum. So yeah, looking at this fight, similar kind of records and stuff. That 0-1 in decisions for Vieira, that stands out, man. 1 decision in all of his fights. He's got the submissions, and then he can finish you by KO TKO as well. So I thought this picture was pretty dope, considering I actually remember this fight, and I remember seeing this picture after that fight. I think I used it one of the other times he fought because I just like it so much. But yeah, you can see how tight he's squeezing that choke on the back of his opponent, and he's got that under the chin. Obviously, you can see his hands there ready to tap because that was it for him. And that was actually against shit, I don't even know who that was against. I don't even know who that is. It doesn't look familiar, but anyway, yeah, we got Vieira there, Armen Petrosian with this big kick to Gregory Rodriguez, who we'll be talking about here in a minute because he's fighting on this card as well. But yeah, look how busted up Petrosian is in this one. Damn. Let me get to his record here. And then, like I said, his last win being over... Oh, I had it there. What the hell? Oh, that would make sense as to why Vieira's didn't. That was a submission. Oh, yeah, so it was arm triangle choke. No, that was Sababek Safarov. That's why I didn't recognize him, because I don't really know that dude that well. But anyway, Petrosian, last win being over 2-0 in his last couple fights. Sorry, everything keeps jumping around for me over here, so I'm just like trying to mess with this and get it to stop. Sometimes this website just messes with me, man. But anyway, Petrosian versus Vieira. I believe I went with, actually I should open this so I can make sure I'm being accurate on my picks. There we go. So this one, I'm going with Petrosian. He's a minus 102 favorite, but this was kind of a pick 'em fight because I think Vieira was like minus 112 or something like that. So pretty close fight here. Should be a good one to start off the main card. Let's move on to a real vet, Michael Johnson. If you've been following MMA at all and been watching for a while, you probably know Michael Johnson because he's been around for quite a bit. 37 years old, 21-19 for an MMA record. So that says a lot because that's a lot of fucking fights. 21-19, 31, that's 40 fights overall for Michael Johnson. So that's that's a hell of a record. Going up against the little younger 29. What the hell? I messed up that one too. I really gotta start double checking all these because I'm screwing up left and right. He's not 0-1 in MMA, obviously, when he has a UFC record of 8-1. What a dumbass. That's all right. You know what the problem is when I make these, if you don't click things correctly and you don't click off of stuff the right way, it kind of deletes the last thing you did. Canva on my phone. I don't know what to tell you. It happens. The good thing is I back myself up with looking at the website that I get all this information from. So I have to, that's why I bring it all up, because I like to be accurate. Yeah, Michael Johnson versus Darius Flowers. Johnson 13-15 in the UFC. That's a salty ass record for the UFC. Holy shit. He's got more losses than wins in the UFC. It's a damn shame, kinda. But he's fought a lot of big names. We'll get to that in a second. 9-3 in the KO category. 2-9 in submissions. So not a great record when it comes to submissions for him. So that would probably account for a lot of those losses on his record. 10-7 in decisions. That's a lot of decisions. Coming off a loss. And we got Darius Flowers, 29 years old. Let me look and see what his actual... So his actual record is 12-6. Why the fuck I have a 0 there? I don't know. Yeah, I screwed up. Whatever. So don't mind that. But 12-6 overall. 8-1 in the UFC. So he's been around a little bit. 9 fights. No, see, okay. I really screwed this one up. I think what happened here is that I didn't finish this one. So that's the problem. He's 0-1 in the UFC. His overall record is 12-6. I see what happened. I screwed up the lines. 0-1 in the UFC. There you go. So he is it's 8-1 in KO TKOs, 1-5 in submissions. So he loses by submission a lot as well. Don't mind what I have written there because I screwed it up. 3-0 in decisions. So if this fight goes to decision, which it might, because they both have, well, Michael Johnson has a lot of damn decisions on his record. So this one's tough, man. With Darius Flowers being 0-1 in the UFC, Michael Johnson being the vet that he is, this could definitely go in the way of the vet here. But as far as Michael Johnson goes, let's take a look at, he's coming off a loss to Diego Ferreira, and that was a KO loss for him in the second round back in May of last year. Look, this is how his record goes, man. This is kind of the type of fighter Michael Johnson is. He's loss, win, loss, win, loss, loss, loss. He went on a 4-fight losing streak between 2019 and 2021. But look at the names: Josh Emmett, Stevie Ray, Thiago Moises, and Clay Guida. He's lost to Jamie Malarkey, has a win over Mark Diakese, but he's fought Artem Lobov, Andre Fili, Darren Elkins, Justin Gaethje, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Dustin Poirier, who he has a win over, Beneil Dariush, Nate Diaz, Edson Barboza, Melvin Goulart, Gleison Tibel, Joe Lozon. Holy shit, those are some names. Miles Jury, Danny Castillo, Tony Ferguson, who he won against back in the day. That's a lot of big names on his record. So that's what I mean by being a vet. And you know, you look at his record and you're like, damn, how does he have that kind of a record in the UFC? Well, look at the fucking names that he's been fighting. And a lot of those losses are to these big names. But in 2016, he beat Dustin Poirier. And in 2015, Edson Barboza, he won against. And he beat Tony Ferguson way back in 2012. So he's got some big wins over some big names. But that's kind of a salty record there. So let's look at Darius Flowers. Like I said, he's coming off a loss as well. His only fight in the UFC was a loss, unfortunately. He does come from Dana White's Contender Series. That's what this picture's from, where he got a TKO submission win in the first round. But his only fight in the UFC was a loss to Jake Matthews, second round submission by rear naked choke. That was back in July of this year, or last year, sorry. So, who did I go with here? This is a weird one. I went with Darius Flowers for the win. He's the plus 120 underdog, but the reason for my pick here is because Michael Johnson is such a streaky fighter, and he did not look great in his last fight. So this is what I'm going off of. Against Diego Ferreira, he got that KO. Ferreira's no joke for an opponent, but he's not like super well established and stuff, like you know, it's not like a real big name there. Notable fighter, but not like a crazy big name. So I'm thinking Michael Johnson. Man, I don't know that he's so, it's just flaky when it comes to the wins and the losses. So I might screw myself on this one, but I'm gonna go with the newcomer Darius Flowers, who's gonna be hungry to get a win in his first win in the UFC. And you know, I just had a gut feeling there, so I went with it. So let's move on to the next fight. Brad Tavares versus Gregory Rodriguez. Did I say? I might have said something else earlier. Anyway, Gregory Rodriguez his nickname is the RoboCop, which is funny. But Brad Tavares, man, I hate betting against him, and that's because I bet against him last time with Chris Weidman, thinking Weidman being the vet that he is and the experience that he has, I was thinking for sure he can take Brad Tavares, but Brad Tavares is a tough motherfucker. He's 36 years old, 20-8 overall in MMA, 15-8 in the UFC, 5-4 KO TKOs, 2-0 in submissions, 13-4 in decisions. A lot of decisions on his record there. And then we got Gregory, and he's coming off a win. So then we got Gregory Rodriguez, 31 years old, 14-5 overall, 5-2 in the UFC, 9-3 in KO TKOs, 3-0 in submissions, 2-2 in decisions. So it's looking like, you know, it leans more towards the KO TKOs for Gregory Rodriguez. But when it comes to Tavares, he's fought a lot of big names too. His last win being against Chris Weidman. Before that, he was on a 2-fight losing streak, so that was a big win for him to get himself back in that win column. It was unanimous. Ooh. Ooh. Oh man, thought I was gonna sneeze, and then I kind of. This has been happening to me ever since. Ever since I got sick, I got all this little stuff that keeps happening. It's like I'm not 100% over it. Little stuff here and there is annoying. Anyway, that big win against Chris Weidman though, after dropping 2 fights in a row. But that was a unanimous decision win for him back in August of last year. Before that, he had a TKO loss to Bruno Silva, and then a unanimous decision loss to Dricus du Plessis. So a couple big names there. Again, another streaky fighter, man. So If it goes in the pattern that he has, I mean, he's slated to win here. So that sucks for me because I went with Darius Flowers. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm reading from the last fight. I went with Gregory Rodriguez in this fight. Just because, yeah, it looks like this is kind of what Brad Tavares does. It's like win, loss, win, loss. But then he's got 2 losses, 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 wins, and then or 2 losses and then a win. So like I said, if it follows the pattern, he's gonna win this one, which would be bad news for me in my parlay. But I did go with Gregory Rodriguez because he is kind of the up and comer that everyone's been talking about, and he just seems to kind of get people interested in his fights. His last fight being a win over Dennis Tululin back in August of last year, KO by elbows in the first round. Before that, he had a loss, and then before that was two wins in a row. So a lot of his fights seem to be ending by KO or TKO, whether he wins or loses. So that's kind of what I went with here. Just judging by everything I was looking at, I went with Gregory Rodriguez. He is the minus 238 favorite, so I did go with the favorite here. So that had a little bit to do with my pick as well. Now we move on to UFC debut by Robert Bryzek versus Ihor Topuria. This was Topuria is actually a late replacement. I don't remember exactly who Bryzek's initial opponent was, but Bryzek is 33 years old, 17-5 overall in MMA. Again, this is his UFC debut, so he's 0-0 in the UFC. 11-1 in KO TKOs. 1-1 in submissions, 5-3 in decisions, and he's coming off a win against Ihor Topuria, who's 27 years old, 19-5 overall in MMA, 1-3 for a UFC record. That's tough. I mean, he has a big win against, I'll find out in a minute. I can't remember who that one win was against a big name, but someone that was kind of on his way out as well. I think it might have been Shogun. I don't remember. I'll find out in a minute. 9-4 in KO TKOs, 6-0 in submissions. So he's dangerous on the ground for sure. 4-1 in decisions, and he's coming off a loss. So Robert Bryzek making his UFC debut. He's on a 5 win streak. None of those obviously being in the UFC. So, he's getting a step up in competition here because you're always going to be fighting the better fighters when you get to the UFC. Looks like he's finishes all of his fights by KO or TKO. In those last 5 wins, it was all KO or TKOs in the fucking first round. So there's something you can bet on. First round finish for Bryzek. That seems to be a pretty safe bet at this point. But he's fighting Ihor Topuria. Does not have a great record in UFC. 1-3. But yeah, he had that big win where he retired Shogun Rua back in January of last year. That was a win by TKO in the first round. But if you look at all of his UFC fights, they have all been finishes by TKO, and also 2 in the first round, 2 in the second round, and he's only won one of those fights. So that's what made me pick the UFC debut guy, Bryzek, because he's finishing all of his fights in the first or second round by TKO or KO. So I'm like, that's an easy bet right there for me. It's only a minus 165. That's only a minus 160. I'm sorry, minus 166 favorite there. So I mean, it's kind of close in the odds, but he's not a huge favorite, but he is a favorite, and that was kind of how I leaned my bet there. Then we move on to Dan Ige versus Andre Fili. This should be a pretty damn good fight because both these guys are usually involved in an exciting fight, whether or not it goes to decision or gets a finish. They're both exciting fighters. 50K Dan Ige got that nickname because he was getting the 50K bonus left and right earlier in his career. By the way, this is the co-main event. So yeah, Dan Ige's 32 years old, 17-7 overall in MMA, 9-6 in UFC, 5-0 KO TKOs, 5-0 in submissions, 7-7 in decisions. So it's kind of 50-50 on winning for him if he goes to decision, but he's undefeated in the KO TKO and submission categories. So if it doesn't go the distance, it's leaning in his favor. So that's pretty good when you're looking at that. When you're looking at those stats. But his opponent is Andre Touchy-Feely, who, you know, if you've been around MMA for a bit, you know who he is. Team Alpha Male guy. Been around for a while. Really big back a few years ago. But, you know, he's kind of got a patch of losses and stuff here and there. And hasn't really been in contention much recently. But he's 33 years old. 23-10 overall. That's a hell of a record there. 33 fights. 11-9-1 in the UFC. 10-3 in the KO TKOs. 3-2 in submissions. And 10-5 in decisions. So that's 10 wins by decision, 10 wins by KO TKO. He does hit very hard for that division. And yeah, that's something to always look out for when it comes to Andre Feely. But first we'll touch on Dan Ige. He had a big win against Nate Landwehr, Nate the Train. That was his last win, but he is coming off a loss to Bryce Mitchell, which was a unanimous decision loss. And I don't know, he just couldn't figure out Bryce Mitchell. It wasn't an impressive fight for either one of those two, but Bryce Mitchell definitely came out with that win, and you know, he did what he put in the work to get that unanimous decision. So that was September of last year, and then we had that weird stuff that happened after the fight where Bryce Mitchell was going off doing his crazy stuff and trying to get Ige to like pray with him, and he was saying all kinds of crazy shit on the mic. I don't know, but yeah, he's coming off a loss to Bryce Mitchell. But before that, he was on a 2-fight win streak with big wins over Damon Jackson and Nate Landwehr. But before that, he was on a 3-fight losing streak to Chan Sung Jung, Josh Emmett, and Movsar Evloev. So those are big names that he lost to. He's fighting Andre Feely, who, you know, is a decent name there, but hasn't been on the best like win streak. So yeah, Dan Ige, it's hard not to bet on him just because he was so solid for a while. He's got wins over Edson Barbosa, Mirsad Bektik. Yeah, I mean, he's got some names in there. And he's got a lot of experience. And he came from Dana White's Contender Series as well. But his opponent, Andre Feely, is, I mean, he's a badass, and I usually favor Feely, but on a personal level, I just think he's a cool dude. And I've rooted for him for a while just because I was following his career for a bit there. He's just kind of a fun fighter. But shit, he's coming off a win over Lucas Almeida, which is a pretty damn good win. TKO by punches. That's what Ige's got to look out for, is the striking of Andre Feely, because he definitely has heavy punches and kicks, and he's pretty quick with it, and he's pretty technical. So, well, not really technical, but I mean, he always finds a way to land, and he has a habit of knocking people out or getting a TKO. So, a bit streaky though. His last 4 or 5 fights, it was win loss, and a no contest. Accidental eye poke there. But before that, it again win loss. So that's kind of the pattern for his career, and how it works out for him. So that was one of the factors in me picking Dan Ige for this fight. Ige is the favorite, minus 175. Not really too many of these favorites are real big favorites. So, that kind of weighed in on my picks as well. And I like Andre Fili, and I like to see him win, but I'm gonna go with Dan Ige on this one. So now we get to the main event. And this is the fight that I'm actually the most excited for when it comes to this fight card, this fight night. Because Jack Hermansson's a beast, but Joe Pyfer is just super fucking impressive these days. And he's a guy who, again, like I said, got that attention from Dana White because he basically was homeless when he first got into the UFC, and now he's kind of become somewhat of a star. And Dana White helped him get, a place to live and gave him some money and stuff, and like got this guy on his feet because he saw potential, and Piper's come through. Let's see, Jack Hermansson is 35, 23-8 overall in MMA, 10-6 in the UFC, 11-3 in KO, TKOs, 6-2 in submissions, and 6-3 in decisions, and he's coming off a loss. But yeah, he's fighting the beast. Joe Pyfer, 27 years old, 12-2 overall, 3-0 undefeated in the UFC, so that makes this kind of weird, I feel like. But I mean, Hermansson is a damn good fighter, so I can understand why they made this matchup. Just giving Pyfer a step up in competition, I guess. So when it comes down to it, I mean, that's the justification for this fight, I'd assume. But Pyfer, again, undefeated in the UFC, 3-0. 8-1 in KO TKOs, 3-1 in submissions, and 1-0 in decisions. And he's coming off a win, obviously, because he's undefeated in the UFC. So yeah, this is an interesting matchup here, which is why I'm excited about this fight, because I know both these guys are great fighters, and Pyfer's just exciting to watch, man. I don't know what else to say except for he's an exciting fighter, and Hermansson is a beast as well. So when it comes down to it, that's what makes this a pretty exciting fight. But let's take a look at Hermansson. Again, he's coming off a loss to Roman Dolidze, who, we just covered for the last fight night. But that was back in December of 2022. That was a TKO loss. So he hasn't fought in over a year. So that ring rust, man, who knows? It's tough. But again, last few fights, it's win-loss, win-loss, win-loss. But, I mean, he's fought people like Dolidze, Chris Curtis, who you see here. He got a win over him, a loss to Sean Strickland, a win over Edmund Shabazian, a loss to Marvin Vettori, a win to Kelvin Gastelum, a loss to Jared Cannonier, a win over Ronaldo Souza, Jacare. That was, I mean, a win over David Branch, Gerald Mearshart, Telis Latis. He's fought a lot of big names, a lot of well-known guys. So it gives him the experience, but he's been dropping fights. In his last few fights, it's just been win-loss, win-loss. So a lot of decisions, decisions or submissions, and a TKO worked in here and there. That's about how his record goes. So you see here this big punch against Chris Curtis. There's more against Edmund Shabazian. You get this big kick here against Chris Curtis again. And then some ground and pound going on right here. Again against Shabazian, I guess. Those are the most exciting ones I could find. But anyway, so Hermansson he's an impressive fighter, but I just don't get good feelings when it comes to him against somebody like Joe Pyfer. And that's because Joe Pyfer is the hot up-and-coming fighter. He's on a fucking roll right now. He's on a high, and he's riding that train. So it's hard to bet against him right now. Every time I think this might be, I mean, he fought Gerald Mearshart, not in his last fight, but the fight before that. And, I mean, he finished him in the first round by TKO. So Joe Pyfer's just a beast, man. And against somebody like GM3, Gerald Mearshart, that's pretty impressive. So his last win was against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. and that was in October of last year. April of last year was the Gerald Meerschaert fight, and then Alan Almadevsky was his first official fight in the UFC, and that was a TKO as well. So you got, including Dana White's Contender Series, which is how he got into the UFC, you've got 3 TKO wins. Oh shit. There you go, against Gerald Meerschaert right there. 3 TKO wins and a submission. So I mean, that's pretty fucking impressive. 3-0. None of his fights have gone past the second round. You know, he's got the striking, he's got the submissions. This one was pretty impressive as well. That was his last fight against Abdul Razak Al Hassan. So yeah, those submissions. Oh shit, I doubled up. Apparently, what the hell? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that's why I'm picking Joe Pyfer. He's a minus 258 favorite. So that's it. That about wraps it up. This is what I meant to do, which is why I doubled up there, because there's my picks. Let me fix this. I did this on the fly, so I have to fix it so that it looks correct. Quick on the fly work here. My bad. But there we go. Main card parlay. See, there I go again. Armin Petrosian, Darius Flowers, Gregory Rodriguez, Dan Ige, Robert Bryzek, which I mixed those up too. I gotta pay attention. And then Joe Pyfer. There's my parlay. I think I bet like $15 on it. I could win a couple hundred if I get them all right. Like I said, I only got one underdog in this whole thing. And I mean, I could still win a couple $100 from that, so not bad. And then I did another prop parlay as well, but that one's crazy, and I just did it for the fun of it, and I only bet like $3 and change or something, but I could win a shitload. So, but I always got to go for that. I always got to go for that long shot. So, yep, that's it. It is what it is. Let's hope that I do a little better. Well, I mean, if I keep doing better on all my parlays, that will just mean that I'm gonna start winning. Because my last parlay is 2 fights. I dropped 2 fights and that was it. But I was 4-0 before that, something like that, and then the no contest worked in there. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't doing too bad on the last round. So let's hope for something better. I did win $3.35 or some shit like that on my second parlay that I put in. So that's still better, because honestly, every other bet that I've made on DraftKings, that was the first time I ever won anything, which is a damn shame, but I haven't taken it very seriously, and I haven't made a bunch of bets. So let's hope that I have better luck this time. And yeah, it just makes it interesting, just a little extra reason to pay attention. But I am going out of town this weekend, little vacay with the wife. So, you know, I'm not going to be able to pay as close of attention this time. And these are good fights too. So, I mean, who knows? I might have my phone out on the table being a dick if my wife doesn't mind. It's kind of an asshole move, but I love it and I watch it all the time. So it is what it is. We'll see what's happening at that moment when the fights are on. But, yeah, don't forget to catch those. Because it's an Apex card, I do believe it is starting a bit early again. Yeah, 5 p.m. is the start for the main card. That's Arizona time. Count for your time zone as you will. But a little bit of an early start. So, yeah, enjoy the fights. Yeah, if you want to bet on that parlay, go for it. I feel okay about it for the most part. So, take a chance if you will, or, you know, take some of my picks and add them in with something you feel better about. Have some fun with it. And then next week, show up to the podcast and jump in the chat and let me know how you did. I'm going to keep everybody updated on mines. So, yeah, good luck to you all, and good luck to me, hopefully, this week. That does it for me. I got to go do some packing. I got to get up early and get to driving. So, I'm out. That's it for this week. Catch me again next Thursday, where we will preview UFC 298, recap this week's fights, see how I did on my parlay, and see what we got for next week's bets. So don't forget to come back. Like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you know whenever I'm live. Going Rounds Podcast everywhere on social media except for X. It's Going Rounds Pod. Go follow me on all that. More active on Facebook and Instagram. But I throw some TikToks out there, and I'm probably the least on X, but that's where I get a lot of news. So, hit me up at any one of those. Give me a follow. And don't forget to check out the show again next week. As for me, that's it. I'm done. I'm out. Time to pack. Have a good night. Enjoy the fights. Peace.